Hello, dreamers. Welcome back to the show. If this is your first time watching or listening, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. Hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at LivinTheDream506. Share it. Tell your friends about it. All that good stuff. Everything helps. So thanks at the very least for just being here. All right. Today's episode was an amazing experience for me because I got to hang out with three of my favorite musicians from three of my favorite bands ever. First, we have Jeff Coffin, who you may know from the Dave Matthews Band, as well as Bela Fleck and the Flecktones. Then we have Jennifer Hartswick from the Trey Anastasio Band. And last but not least, we have Kris Myers from Umphrey's McGee. We talk about their latest project together, Music with 5 Questions, and Instrument Head Live. And we even tackle some social issues. This one was so much fun. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's episodes like this that I truly feel as though I am. Living the dream. 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 Christopher.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
Good. Hey, Jen. Hey, Jeff.
What's up, Chris?
How are we all doing today?
Pretty good.
That's great.
Infuriated, but that's cool. It doesn't matter.
Keep that
Yeah.
energy to yourself.
I didn't know, but for real, I just went to go vote. And they told me I couldn't vote with my Black Lives Matter mask on. They wouldn't let me.
Really?
What?
Is that a real thing?
Told them to go fuck yourselves.
Is that really? Can they
If
really?
if I wasn't voting to vote you fuckers out, I would have turned around and or made a huge scene or whatever. But I was like, this is the reason that I'm here is because of shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made me take it off. They were like, you can't make a political statement when you vote. I was like, no. First of all, it's not. Second of all, that's backwards.
Is that what you're doing?
Nope. Anyway.
I really don't understand.
It's still very fresh. I'm sorry. I'll get over it in a minute, but it's just happened 20 minutes ago.
Please don't get over it.
No.
I'm not gonna. But for the with my 6'8" black husband with me, she's like, you can't wear that anymore.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
I don't understand it around here. That's the only downside I find. I'm seeing the ugly side of things right now here where we're living, and in this particular area, everybody has some kind of fear-based mentality about this whole thing to the point where they're literally so spiteful and so defensive, and it's like, why? I mean, how important is it to you, really? I don't understand.
Yep, I don't either.
It's weird.
And the irony of going to vote and not being able to make a political statement.
Hello. This is right, that in and of itself. It's not a political statement. It's a humanitarian statement.
Yeah, exactly.
We're to vote on political issues.
Let's talk about this shit, Chris.
Absolutely, keep it going. I love it.
Because this is messed up, man.
We're going to talk about, but that's real life.
Really, we're going to talk about that.
Wear red or blue when I vote?
Yeah.
How far are we taking this?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
That's
sorry
totally messed up, man. Because it's not a. Because you're right, man. It's not a political statement at all. It's a human rights statement. It would be saying if you wore a shirt that said "vote," would that be considered a political statement?
Right, probably.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It was just mind blowing.
Where'd you try to vote?
I voted. I did. My polling place is at a giant church in Old Hickory, Tennessee, where there were probably 3 cars in the parking lot.
Oh, well, okay.
Oh, my God.
And last time I voted in Green Hills, which was like a well-oiled, lovely machine. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Where there's a line out the door. And like, people who look like they've stepped outside before. Anyway, whatever.
Wow.
A couple
That's
behind
crazy.
me had Titans masks on, and I was like, "Are they supporting the Titans? Is that political? What's
Right.
What's acceptable?"
Jesus, man, what's wrong with people?
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. I'm really I'm baffled. I saw people literally giving a person with a mask on a hard time because they were wearing a mask.
Right.
As if like,
that stuff.
yeah,
That stuff.
yeah.
I early voted in Belmead because that's my nearest polling station,
Yeah.
and everybody had to wear masks and everybody had to be socially distanced.
Yeah.
I mean, they were enforcing it. You know.
They enforced it there too. You shouldn't make a political statement on your mask.
Wow.
Have you guys had any other difficulties with voting? Like, I heard about, like, they might be doing online or mail-in ballots and stuff, and they were showing pictures like, if we can be 6 feet apart at a Costco, we can be 6 feet apart in a line to vote.
Well, some people can have that choice, but mail-in ballots are perfectly legal here. You know,
Right.
And you have to actually go through an application process to get them. But our dictator is, railing against all that at this point. It's horrific, man. I mean, he can't go quick enough, as far as I'm concerned, and it's horrible. I mean, that this has been made into any kind of political statement, of wearing masks or Black Lives Matter masks or any of that, is just an aberration to me,
Yeah.
And I mean, whatever happened to freedom of speech? Isn't that still? Don't we still have that?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's
You
been infringed. I mean, it's definitely been tense lately.
Mhm.
But it's always the extremes. That
Right.
It is on both sides. I agree.
Yeah, there's always this. I hate to say, some people don't like this, but the silent majority. There's still a majority that might be silent. Maybe in my perspective, I could be right or wrong, and they try to just make some sense of it in the middle somewhere and figure out, it's hard because there's so much polarization going on, and I also think the media is a big, huge part of that, and the anti-social media, as you said the other day, Jeff.
Anti-social media. That's what I call it anymore. Yeah.
It's
exactly what it is.
And everybody has access to being super loud and heard. You know what I mean? It's like the invention of all this technology. Now everybody, who has an opinion, it's a lot of information. It's a lot of opinions. It's a lot of,
right.
And people are passionate about it on both sides. And you try to be understanding and find some middle ground, but it's like, I just feel like there's some things like when you're wrong,
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird with mainstream media that people who have an opinion can watch the news that perpetuates their opinion and their side rather than ever hearing anything that contradicts your opinion or challenges your train of thought. You just pick your side and you stay with it, and there's never any discourse. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, no question.
Anti-social media. I like that.
Anti-social media. Yep. I'm staying with it.
I like it.
That's good. Yeah, that's a coin term from Jeff right there.
So other than that, how's everybody doing?
Good.
Great.
All right. Well, so Jeff Coffin, Jennifer Hartswick, Kris Myers, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. Kris, welcome back.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you guys on the show finally. Maybe we can just take a minute, go around the table or around the Zoom here and introduce each other. Jen, ladies first, Jen Hartswick. I'll give you a quick little intro for myself because I first became aware of you in 2009 in Vermont, where you're from, as I just learned, at the Higher Ground with Kris and Umphrey's McGee.
Wow.
And you guys encored with Barracuda by Heart. And I mean, I've been in love ever since with you, your voice, your contributions, just everything. You've been just a staple. I've seen you with them countless other times as well, sitting in for bowls and things like that. So that's my little blurb about you. Thank you so much for being on here. Jennifer Hartswick, tell us about yourself.
One time in 2009, I played with Umphrey's McGee, and the rest is history. I grew up in Vermont to a big old musical family. My work has led to a super interesting, wonderful life of not really mattering where I live, because I live out of a suitcase. I stayed for a while in Chicago and moved back to Vermont and wound up somehow in Tennessee. And now I live in Nashville, where I play music in my studio where there's no one else because of the situation. That's my life in a nutshell.
Nice. And you are a member of the Trey Anastasio band?
True story. Founding mother.
Nice.
I've been in that band, God. I met him 22 years ago. Before the band was a band. And then, so I've been in that band 19 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I don't know how that happened.
Well, thanks again for being here. Next, we got Jeff Coffin, Dave Matthews Band, Bela Fleck and the Flecktones. Give us an intro, Jeff.
Give you an intro. Well, I know Jennifer Hartswick and Kris Myers, and I love them both very dearly, and I get to make music with them, which makes me very happy. I live in Nashville. I've been here for almost 30 years. Came here from Texas, where I was going to school, originally from New England, and started playing with the Flecktones in '97, Dave Matthews in 2008. Did both the bands for a couple of years there. I basically live on the road also. I do a lot of education work. I'm deeply involved with music education, jazz education in particular, improvisation. And so I teach at Vanderbilt University. I've written a few books also. I'm in the middle of a couple right now that I'm pretty excited about. And we're in my studio right now, Into the Air Studios, where I basically spend most of my time when I'm not out on the road, which for the next year I'm going to be spending a lot of time in this very chair. Unless I get a better chair. I'm thinking about getting a different chair. We should talk about chairs and kind of the best chair
I'll
to
get
get.
new glasses. You get.
I'll get a new chair. Kris, you can get a new tank top.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we can.
You got it, brother.
We're going to be styling.
Hulkamania.
So speaking of tank tops, Kris Myers, welcome back to the show.
Is that steroid juice you're drinking? Is that what that is?
Yes, it's called I Know Explode.
Nice. I love that stuff.
I actually used to take that before shows, and I had to stop it because it kept me up all night.
Does it make you itchy?
No.
I used to take that for workouts, and it would make my skin just tingle.
Yes, me too.
Anything you take that makes your skin tingle, I don't think you should be taking it anymore.
That's exactly the point. That is
Makes the largest organ on my body tingle. It's got to be good for me.
You just, you inject sanitizer. Same thing.
Same thing.
Bleach, what have you? Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Hi, I'm Kris Myers. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, born in Elmhurst, and raised in Inverness, Illinois, Palatine, basically, which is the northwest suburbs. My life was a John Hughes film growing up in the 80s. No, I'm just kidding. I started drums when I was 8 years old, and then I took lessons when I was 11, played in a bunch of high school bands, started from the hair band and metal world to playing grunge and punk and ska music, and then I went and studied jazz when I got a scholarship at Elmhurst College, back where I was born. Did that, and then DePaul University for grad school, of which I went to school in a band with a guy that's a friend of Jen's, actually, and his wife, Brian Murray and Catherine Wheeler. And from there, after grad school, a friend of mine told me about Umphrey's McGee. They were looking for a drummer, and I was like, interesting name. Sounds interesting. So I went and looked it up and loved it. I was like, I got to try out. Maybe I have a shot. And, the rest is history. Now I've been playing with them since 2003, and then occasionally with my great friends here, Jeff and Jen, and very grateful. We're all in Nashville together.
Mm-hmm.
And like Jeff said, he's helped me find a way and a path here musically, because it's diversifying, and he's like the ambassador of the jazz realm here, in my opinion. him and the Wootons. And so I just kind of follow his lead and suggestions, and what kind of chair to get for your studio.
Yeah, that's a big decision.
And Jen, of course, I love her dearly. So much respect, and she was always kind enough to have me a part of her projects in the way back when in Chicago, when she was living there briefly. And I was very grateful for that, and I'm really happy that we've come full circle here. So
awesome. So Jen, I know you've shared the stage with the Dave Matthews Band and Umphrey's McGee, and Jeff, you've played with Umphrey's before as well.
Mm-hmm.
Have you all three played together at the same time before?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
We have. And it's the most recent thing we've done is this thing called Music with 5 Questions. And that's something that a photographer here in Nashville, Michael Weintraub, it's kind of his brainchild. And so it's being debuted on August 6th. And so we had our great friend Robin Ford and wonderful bassist Jay White join us. So that band is the core 3 of us. So we've all been talking for a while about, man, we got to do some stuff now that Kris is in town, and let's just do some different kind of stuff. And so Michael came up with this idea, and I said, well, let it be the core of us 3, because we have vocals and trumpet, saxophone and woodwinds, drums and percussion. And so from there, we can sort of augment with different guests. If we want to do an acoustic thing, we could totally do it. It's not tied to other rhythm section players, And so with Kris, like the sound of a band comes from the drums. Like if Kris wasn't in Umphrey's McGee, they would sound totally different, even with the same players. So the sound of the drums changes everything. So having that as kind of a central hub, if you will, then we can change out bass players, guitar, or keyboards if we want. And then having the horns, having the vocal stuff that Jen does, we can kind of do whatever we want to do, and it'll have a sound to it because of the way that Kris plays.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know you were here.
Yeah, there's a truth to that. I think everyone knows each other's roles, and you can switch roles, if you're experienced enough. And then, as a drummer, I try to just interpret what's going on. And I mean, it kind of comes down to that as a drummer: your time, feel, dynamics, and your interpretation of that feel, and that kind of makes the
natural.
Yeah.
I like it. I mean, I knew it was important. I didn't know it was all those things. Wow. There really is a lot of pressure on you.
Too much. It's, that's why I need to, have life coaches, and things like that.
Daily massages, that kind of thing.
Daily affirmations.
Make sure your skin tingles.
That's right. This makes my skin tingle.
Those days are over.
No, but Kris is absolutely right though, man. There's a lot of the drums inform the sound of the group. I remember reading years ago there was a Miles Davis interview, and he said if you want to change the sound of a band, you change the drums. And if you look at Miles's different periods all along, that was the radical change in the ensemble. It wasn't that he was going from electric or acoustic to electric bass. Whatever, it's still a bass. It's still providing a similar role. But when you change the rhythmic aspect of things, going from Tony Williams to Jack DeJohnette, from Jack DeJohnette to Al Foster, and it changes everything about the ensemble. And so that's why I'm so excited with Kris in the fold here, to have that solidity. I mean, he's an amazing drummer, and what he brings to the table is a wide palette of musical understanding also. I mean, obviously his groove is as good as anybody on the planet, in my opinion. And but he brings his personality to the drums, and he's a character, so he brings that to the throne, and which I think is beautiful. Yeah.
Oh shucks.
Oh shucks.
I definitely have personality, or I have definitely character. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm a character.
Yeah.
It's so nice for me to be able to play with you too outside of Umphrey's, because we played, a fair amount in that band together. We've always talked about doing some jazz trio gig or something like that. For 15 years we've talked about doing that and never really done it. So it's really nice to be with you in a setting that's completely different too. That was like one of my favorite things about starting this project, was being able to do it with you.
Likewise. Absolutely. Thank you guys.
I always have to scream heart songs, and you
Yeah.
don't always have 6 bass drum pedals.
Yeah, you're damn right. I mean, I won't say that, I'm not going to hold back. I still love it when you do that. But no, I hear you. I'm just trying to keep up, I'm just trying to keep my mind sharp so I can make everyone happy. The drummer always tended to always be perceived as the guy who's the non-melodic player, the non, composer, et cetera, doesn't get the royalties, whatever, over the decades. But I find that I think that what it comes down to is you just have to make the best of what you do and what you have on your instrument, and you have the ability to learn to share a language with everyone and interpret it with a condensed setup. I guess I try to go for something and feel comfortable in my own skin, which is still a work in progress, but that goes along with life and music.
Yeah.
Well,
You should try some moisturizer. That'll help.
Yeah. Okay. Moisturizer.
Your elbows ever get dry? Because my elbows sometimes get dry.
Elbows.
Never. It's only here.
Never.
I have cold feet.
I think one of the cool things about this music with 5 questions is that it kind of opens us all up to some different potentialities, and everybody can kind of bring in stuff, and so it's different than sort of our day job, if you will, with the ensembles that we play with. And so I think being able to bring in those influences, and also to be able to bring in guests who further influence what we do, and it allows us to reach out and even introduce each other into different circles of music. And so that's one of the things that's so intriguing to me about this possibility, about this experiment that we're trying right now, and is just the potential of what it could be. And that, again, it takes us out of our sort of comfort zone in some ways.
Yeah, you got your core 3, and it seems like the possibilities are endless now, right? Like, you guys can bring in whoever you want. Are you going to tackle every genre as well?
I don't know. I mean, I'm personally not thinking genre based. I'm just thinking like who would be an interesting fit musically that can sort of bring a particular kind of dynamicism. Is that a word, dynamicism? Did I just invent a word? Wow.
I like
okay.
It.
Yeah. It's going to be in like the Canadian English dictionary, right?
That's what we use.
It might be the same word in Canadian, right?
Translated loosely.
So somebody that can bring a particular sort of dynamic to the ensemble also, and so that we get to talk about it and kind of handpick who we want to bring in is really intriguing.
When you say music with 5 questions, what are the 5 questions? What is that in reference to?
Well, it was Jeff's idea, I thought originally, where we all brought questions to each other to ask, and sort of be, have a different dynamic to the experience of seeing a show or seeing us play, and just talk a little bit, and ask each other questions, and we just shuffled them up in a hat, and then we all picked one and to ask each other, and then put them on the spot, and then laugh at them or listen to them or whatever.
Sometimes both.
It's great. It was great.
But it's cool to have the questions from, your peers, your musicians, your friends, or whatever. Because some of us have known each other a really long time, but would not know the answer that you're giving about that question. So
right.
I think a lot of us do a lot of interviews with people who are asking us questions who are not musicians. And so to sort of be able to get questions, that is just, maybe different kinds of questions that musicians would ask other musicians. It's nice to put your friends on the spot, and it's nice to learn a little bit more about them too.
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
What's the type of question that, a musician to musician question? What's a type of question like that?
Well, anything that's not like, bro, what's it like to play with Trey? You know what I mean? Which is a question I get at least 14 times a day.
It's like, what kind of valve do you use? What kind of reed do you play?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it can be kind of across the board. It can be goofy stuff also. There's no real direction. So the idea is it's almost like a reverse talk show, whereas like on most talk shows there's a lot of talking and there's a little bit of music as you go to commercial and then you come back, and so this is kind of the reverse of that, where it's mostly music, but there's a couple little breaks where we'll have a couple of questions. Like we'll do a couple of tunes, read a couple of questions, answer a couple of questions, do a couple more tunes, a couple more questions, and then a couple more tunes, and then one last question maybe before the last tune, kind of thing. So they're interspersed in a way that is just sort of a respite from the music, and so again they can be anything. And we also had asked that the photographer and some of the camera crew, they submit questions also. So it's all creative types. And if you get your own question, you can't answer it. Of course, you got to throw it back in. So it can be any number of different things. Like creative influences in your life. It can be, like your favorite flavor of Ben and Jerry's. I mean, it can really be anything you want it to be. And how has the quarantine affected you? What's your favorite place to make music, or what's your favorite instrument to play? Do you have like a particular instrument at home that you never bring on the road? I mean, again, it can be anything at all. But it's usually pretty insightful, and it kind of shows the personality of the person that asked the question also.
Yeah. How many guests have you had lined up for this so far? Like, do you have everything planned out for the next couple months?
No, this is the first time we've ever done this, and basically we're kind of waiting to see how this thing goes, and to kind of see, when the next time will be, when we'll be able to do it again, and then we'll start making plans from there. But we've talked about a number of different guests along the way, and Nashville is full of incredible musicians, and as people start to travel, also hopefully that'll start opening up before too long. But as people come through town, we could take advantage of those people coming through town as well, and because it really doesn't matter so much when we record it. It can sort of air at any time. So it could be that maybe we do 2 in a week, and then not do another one for a month. I mean, it doesn't so much matter because it's not live, and that's not the idea of it. Is not to necessarily be live, but once things open up, being able to do something like this, in a live setting could be super cool also.
Yeah, you mentioned like waiting for musicians to come through, but essentially you guys could go on tour and meet musicians in their hometown and do the same thing.
Playing with the head, do an instrument head tour.
That's brilliant.
A very good idea. I like
Be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Maybe Michael could let us set up in the back of his van.
Yeah, all of his instrument had, camp.
That's right. That's right.
Be like a Spinal Tap moment where you got to put it over here 2 feet, and then it falls over, and it's like a big mess, like Stonehenge.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So is the band name Instrument Head? That's what technically
No.
the band name? No?
No. That's the photography thing that Michael's been doing. And so Instrument Head Live is sort of the umbrella of what he's presenting. And we don't really have a name for the band. It's just music with 5 questions at this point, with the 3 of our names, And I think we just call it Hartswick, Coffin, and Myers at this point, and with special guests. Yeah.
BLM trio.
Yeah.
The BLM voters.
Do you think they'll let you in venues?
As long as it's not a political venue, yeah.
As long as we're not in Old Hickory, Tennessee, or whatever you said.
Right.
Yeah, I could probably think of. I have a whole list of cool band album names and band names. Maybe I can contribute to that, if anything.
Let's hear a couple.
Well, let's see. They're pretty interesting. Let me see here.
You have them tattooed on your hand? What are you looking at?
On my phone.
Okay.
on a note. Ridicio. Monstruo. Miska. Bafo. Juicy Smoulet.
Juicy Smooth.
Fogbow. Crowned Monster. Sanitize this, And then Party's Over. Too Soon. Could be a band. That was an album name. Indigo Children. Anarchist's Cookbook.
That's it.
Amosexuals.
Homosexuals.
Yeah. Hubris and Consequence. And Thugs Bunny.
Thugs Bunny.
And it's strong.
Thugs Bunny with special guests.
Yeah.
So did any of those stand out, guys?
Probably not. Yeah, we'll get back on that one. We'll have a Zoom meeting of our own to figure out. But just know that I'm all in, guys. If you want to go on the road
Great.
Good.
next year.
I gotta get my shit together. I gotta write some names down. Now, I didn't know I had to do that, but now I know.
Yeah, I didn't know either. Okay, I'm on it too.
Yep.
Thanks for making us look bad, Kris.
We'll cut all this. I got a couple of questions I'll throw in at you.
Okay.
We'll start with Jen. What's it like to play with Trey? Next question. Okay. I actually did have this one sent in. Sharing the stage with so many legends like the Rolling Stones and Tom Petty and these two as well. What is it like bouncing from stage to stage like that and just like you said, living out of a suitcase and just experiencing the world with so many acts, not being just confined to one band, but to be a part of history? What is that like?
I feel like as a musician who takes her craft seriously, it's the only thing that I've ever wanted to do. It's the only thing that I've ever, really put my mind to. In order to be a successful musician, you have to be a chameleon. You have to be able to step into any situation and feel comfortable, which means that it can mean genre-wise, it can mean size of an arena-wise, or, is it a different feeling playing for 40,000 people in a stadium versus, 75 people in like a jazz listening room. And so I feel like, you just have to be ready for any situation. And that just comes with with practice and experience, and dedication, you know. There's definitely a different feeling of like being in a band for so long and knowing your role. And I feel like with Trey's band, there's been a few personnel changes over the years. There's been like different versions of the band that started out as a trio, then they added horns, and that was a band for quite a few years. And then there was an entirely different switch in the band, and then he got sober, and we didn't play for 5 or 6 years, and then the band came back in a version that was very similar to the original band. And I feel like now it's been 19 years later, and just maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, like that, it finally felt like we all knew our roles. And there's like this sort of beautiful progression that happens when you've been around the same people for so long, and you get to grow together and have all these experiences together. And so that's a feeling of like, when we get to create together, everybody's got each other's backs. And the idea behind the band is sort of that everybody has their moment, but everybody plays a supporting role, including Trey, you know? Like, he's like, all I want to do is play rhythm guitar all night. I know I have those because people will riot, but like, like if I could just sit back and like hang out with everybody and play rhythm guitar all night, I'd be really happy. So there's different relationships and experiences as you go along. So that's like deep family. And then there's times where you may step on the stage with somebody and only play that one night, and that's your role that night. And so I think you just kind of have to be prepared and say yes and throw yourself into things, and you know, hope for the best sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very well said. Yeah,
I think you bring up a really good point, Jen, of understanding your role in an ensemble. And I think that there's a lot of young players that are out there, a lot of musicians just kind of starting out that maybe don't understand what their role is in the ensemble. And I think that sometimes that's one of the things that can really hinder a group also, is not understanding that it's up to you to play a role. And in playing a role, it's a supporting role, unless you're the leader. And then everybody in your band is supposed to be playing a supporting role to you. And it doesn't mean that they're not important, but when you have a Trey Anastasio or a Dave Matthews or Brendan or Brandon rather, that is kind of the one of the focal points of the ensemble, and that's where the focus has to be, and that's where the focus is going to be for the majority of the time. And so, for example, like if let's say you guys are the audience, okay? Let's say that this camera is the audience. When I'm on stage with Matthews, you will always see me turned this way. I am almost never facing directly forward. The reason for that is that the vocalist is over here. It's Dave Matthews Band, right? So I'm looking at him the entire time because he may cue something, and if I'm not paying attention, I'm going to miss it. And I do not want to be the guy to derail that train, you know? And so it's not just listening. There's a lot of visual aspects of it going on also. And so understanding your role is really important. My role in that ensemble is part of a two-piece horn section. My role in the Flecktones was one of 4 people, so kind of one of 4 corners. And so it's different. If I'm in the studio, it's different. In this ensemble, it's different. There's no lead. We are the leaders. There's no. It's not my band. It's not Jen's band. It's certainly not Kris's band. God. So we make decisions together, you know, and that's the idea. So our role in this ensemble is of equal decision makers, and I think it's pretty easy among 3 people who get along and love each other and respect each other really well. So
you're here.
Yeah.
What he said.
Yeah, that's a cool way to bring music together. Like, you guys have very successful careers separately, but to, like you guys said earlier, being friends and knowing each other for so long and finally coming together. must be very exciting and very comfortable, which I think will allow creativity to flow when you're that comfortable with two other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, and I think there's a lot of opportunity also for something like this. And, because even from an intimate standpoint, because I think there's going to be a lot of more intimate gigs, before it kind of just opens wide open again. So with an ensemble like this, we have a lot of repertoire. Jen has a ton of tunes. I've got a ton of tunes. I know that Kris has been doing some writing also, and so we can sort of infiltrate at any level, not only sonically, but stylistically as well, and I think come up with something really interesting and unique.
Yeah, that's awesome. Drew Dugan actually had a question for you, Jeff. He was wondering what it was like when Bella Fleck and the Flecktones and the Dave Matthews Band all jammed together with that many musicians and instruments all working at once together, and just, jamming, improving, and killing it all at once. And
yeah.
I'm wondering about that experience and then what it was like eventually playing with Leroy Moore and eventually replacing him as well in the band.
Sure. When I first joined the Flecktones in '97, I can't remember if it was that year or '98, but it might have been '97. We started doing some opening dates for Matthews, and so they would most times, invite us to come out and play a tune with them, which is kind of where I got to know them, and we would just have a lot of fun making music together. Vic and Future Man had known Carter and had kind of grown up in the Virginia Beach area together, so they had known each other since high school, and so there were always a lot of stories, and so everybody kind of had known each other and knew each other. They were always very welcoming. Leroy was always very welcoming also. We would just hang and talk shop and try different mouthpieces and horns, and saxophone players, we can clear a room very quickly with talking shop. And so we would, man. People would be, yeah.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
And so we would just get together and talk and laugh, and he was a beautiful musician and a beautiful guy, and so in 2008 when he had his ATV wreck, I got called to just come and sub for a few months until he recovered, which he was supposed to fully recover. But he was pretty broken up physically from the accident, and so about a month and a half into his recovery, he ended up passing from complications, and which is how I ended up getting the gig. And I never look at it as a replacement, quote unquote, and I'm always clear. I try to be clear about that, because there is no replacing somebody else. And I know it's maybe semantics, but to me, I can't come in and be Leroy, and obviously he wouldn't want me to be. He had his own unique style of playing, and I was coming into a horn section with a different musical background, a different life, a different sound, and so I had to work my way into their stream. And so again, talking about my role within the ensemble, but we all miss him. I mean, the band, of course, misses him dearly, and I appreciate him as a musician, as a composer, as an arranger. Certainly as a multi woodwinds player as well, and I appreciated him as a friend too, man. Someone that had broken through as a saxophonist into like a very high profile, very high visibility gig, and there's not many, man. So I feel like I've been very, very lucky to have had probably the two best gigs of my generation, quite honestly. And the longevity that I've spent with these guys, not only with the Flecktones, who I played for 14 years with, in Matthews for 12, 2 of those years overlapping with both bands. And so this is the 12th year with Matthews. And so, yeah, I'm incredibly grateful. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That was a great answer. Is there anything planned with Dave Matthews? Like, I know you played a huge crowd, so right now that's not even within eyesight.
We got this Holiday Inn residency we're going to start doing.
A tour of all the Holiday Inns.
That's right.
Starting in the 30s.
It's going to be it's going to be like a wine tasting, like 5 to 7 every night, and
Boxed wine.
Boxed wine. Well, duh, yeah, of course.
Only the best.
Yeah. No, so nothing on the books until next year. Everything has just been basically moved from this year to 2021, and so we'll see if it happens, man. I mean, it's a crapshoot at this point. You know, nobody knows anything about anything, and it's even hard to get information from anybody about anything. And you know, so we'll see. You know, I think we're all hopeful. We all stay in touch, and you know, send goofy little texts to each other, and you know, when it's somebody's birthday, like, you know, everybody will send stuff, and you know, we usually check in every 2 to 3 weeks with each other, just say that we miss each other and hope everybody's doing well, and so it's good. And I've been doing some recording. A lot of recording actually on my own. I've got Stefan on a project, and so he's always down to do some playing, and you know, Carter's probably down to do some things every now and then. I've got Buddy Strong on keys on something, got Rashawn on something else, and you know, so I mean, I try to keep those guys involved if I can with stuff that I'm working on too, if they're into it, you know, and but I certainly miss them a lot. Yeah.
Doesn't Carter fly? Doesn't he have a pilot's license?
He does have a pilot's license, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You
Hot air balloons.
Hot air balloons. That'd be funny.
Drones.
Do you guys think that any members from your respective bands will join the 5 Questions project?
Oh, I don't know.
I told
Possibly.
them, yeah, I told them to tune in, my guys, and
Yeah.
maybe some of them will check it out, and we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be really fun because, you know, it wouldn't even. I mean, there's a possibility of doing something like this within a context of even doing like a 5-up thing here. You know, we could have like a special guest join us, you know, after we've already done, like leave space for somebody to come in and do a solo, and be able to kind of put it in post-production kind of thing, which could be actually really, really cool. You know, hadn't thought much about that. But Andy from Umphrey's, pardon me, lives here in Nashville now too. So we've talked about getting him on some percussion stuff, which I think would be really cool. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Kris, we had a question for you. Little Umphrey type question. The song Nopener. Is this song about yourself and Umphrey's McGee, or is there another band that the song is in reference to?
It's loosely based off of a story that's kind of funny, and I'll leave the band nameless, but they were a popular jam band way back when, and there was a moment where the guitar player of that band came backstage while members of Umphrey's in their young age were back there, you know, still young punks and opening, you know, as the opening act, and before my time. And I think the guitarist was trying to be cool in front of a girl and was pointing at the names on the poster. He's like, "You see that? Opener, headliner." It's like that kind of a thing. It's like really douchey. So then Jake and I think wrote the song based off of that, but it became an anthem and like paying homage to the opener. And then we would also mix it with another concept where we made a term nopener, like when people would ask, "Okay, what's the bill tonight? Or do you guys have anybody opening?" for the logistical reasons, you know, in production. And then we go nopener, which means no opener. So then Jake took that and then made it towards the other story and then made it an opener, which is like kind of like a Ween-esque kind of approach to a song. It was very tongue-in-cheek, like kind of a black metal song with the pitch of the voice lower, so it sounds like Cookie Monster or something. And it's great. It's one of our finest
reference. Is that what happened to Cookie Monster's voice? Is it actually pitched lower?
No, I think it's something actually happened. But we just end up sounding like Cookie Monster as well.
I've seen Brendan look like Cookie Monster before.
Oh yeah, with his shirt with the patch and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
What is the subliminal message in that song?
Oh, it's just subliminal message in reverse. We just learn how to say it, which I cannot say it for you right now because it's been way too long and I forgot how to say it. But Joel says it,
so he knows how to perform that live.
Yeah, I think when we were younger, we were a lot more relentless with our jokes, and sometimes they were far too inside or a little racy, kind of like Dave Chappelle sort of humor, you know. And we even got burned for it a couple times in some incidents I'll leave behind us. But we thought they were hilarious, of course. And sometimes our songwriting went towards that nature where we wanted to be like Ween. You know, Ween is like that. I bring them up again because they're almost punk rock. You know, they're not even really jam band like material, so to speak. But the cultures love them over the decades because, you know, of their goofiness and their openness to the open audience, but yet they're still like holding down that sass, you know, with the funny humorous, like the Zappa-esque kind of approach to music, which we've always had that part of our sound. So that was a long answer to the question. Sorry.
Got to get it all out.
Yeah.
I got one more for Jeff. Lee Dewar says, I know Jeff likes to mix in little interpolations for other songs into jams. And what's your favorite interpolation that he plays outside of the obvious ones that crowds might not always catch on to?
Well, he's not wrong about that. I mean, Rashawn and I come up with certain horn lines that, you know, could be from conversations that we've been having in the back, you know, like our inside jokes, like Kris was just talking about. So one night, well, there's one that's kind of fun. We do we do an interpolation of Down by the Riverside, but we also quote Oliver Nelson's Hoedown, which is a jazz recording. So that's kind of a fun one. I can't remember what tune we do it in, but there's that. But I remember one night we did the Hogan's Heroes theme. I was pretty proud of, actually.
Nice.
And I remember for some reason we were talking about it out back, and the most stunning part of the conversation I remember out back is that somebody was like, I think Rashawn pulled it up on his phone or something, and Carter starts singing the trombone part in the tune, and I'm just like, I didn't even know there was a trombone in this, you know. And Carter's like singing like the trombone part and the harmony and all this, and I mean Carter is a deep musician, man. Like, it's crazy the stuff he knows. And I don't know if he's got a photographic memory or what it is, but it is crazy, man. And but I remember him singing the trombone part, and I didn't even know there was one in there. But yeah, so we quoted Hogan's Heroes for a couple of nights. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's fun. All right, so instrument head and music with 5 questions. Where can we find all the information for these projects?
Instrumentheadlive.com. Yeah, and we also have our own individual websites. Mine is jeffcoffin.com.
JenniferHartswick.com.
And chrismyersdrums.com.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for doing this. This was so much fun. I can't thank you guys enough. This was awesome.
Pleasure.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, y'all.
It was awesome. Thank you.
Hopefully you guys get to take this on the road, and maybe I'll sit in with you on one of the shows.
There you go.
Yeah.
$20.
Hey,
$20 each. U.S., not that Canadian shit you guys use up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to rethink it, but I'll let you know.
Are you guys using the euro yet? What's going on up there?
It's colorful, but it's not even as valuable as that.
I mean, you guys have some beautiful money, actually.
thank you very much.
Really? Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's
I
gorgeous.
take a lot of pride in the color of our money.
That's a great quote right there.
It's worthless, but it's beautiful.
Like so many things.
Right. Man, I had this student this morning he's my youngest student, kind of one of the youngest students I've ever worked with. He's 13. He's just going into his freshman year of high school. Really good kid, and so we're talking about something and something to do with improvisation because he's kind of learning the vernacular now, and he said I was telling him to do something, and he says okay. He says I'm gonna trust you on this. He says because he says I assume you know what you're talking about. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. I assume you know what you're talking about.
I love it. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Cheers.
Thank you. And hey, I'll see you and Kris. What time do we have to be over there? 5:30? What are you doing?
I said
5. Yeah.
I'll lose 5:30. Yeah. Yeah. So 6:45.
Well, we're doing it. We'll talk about it later.
Okay. Yeah. Let's. Great. Okay.
I just tell myself 5 o'clock, and then it works out to be whatever you.
Okay, so you don't listen.
Hello. Hello. Oh, sorry, it's the wrong way. Hello.
All right.
My Bluetooth mouthpiece.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah.
Thank you guys.
All right, everybody. See you soon.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kris.
Thank you.
Later.
Thanks.